Tim Kennedy may be one of the most dangerous things when it comes to the Second Amendment. I think he claims himself to be a libertarian, as most public figures that are in the tactical space do, because it is a way for them not to take a left or right stance and lose followers, because the country's very divided politically, and so a lot of the most well-known guys say they're libertarian, and it's pretty much a neutral position that many of these influencers take, that way that they can garner followers on both sides. They say, well, he's libertarian, and it's a way to essentially make sure you're still making income. Because I will say this, if you take a side, for example, if you say you're a conservative, you will be hated by the left, people that are leftists, and you also be hated by many other conservatives. I don't know why that is, but many conservatives hate tremendously other conservatives. It's wild. Even today, I got called a right-wing terrorist in a comment. Yeah, but back to Tim Kennedy. He has garnered a rather large following with his affiliations with other large names, and then working with companies like Black Rifle Coffee. Him being a Green Beret and former UFC fighter. Many people have made the statement that conservatives, and like, again, I'm not saying he's conservative because he said he's a libertarian, and there are people out there that are true libertarians, but I'm saying most people in the influencer or content creator space take that route because it's an easy way to gain, not take a stance, essentially. So, but a lot of people make this statement that conservatives are just 10 years behind Democrats when it comes to ideology. And this is why this is extremely dangerous when it comes to people like Tim Kennedy. You see, he is saying he's pro-gun often. He uses guns in business and such, and content. He also says he's pro-freedom, but he champions for gun control. He was actually on the Hodge twins podcast named Twin Pods. I guess it's like another channel they developed. But in this, he had the conservative twins agreeing with him that we need more gun control. Now, before I get into this video, I want to let you know, as far as me as a man, on what I try to do. I don't attack the man, okay, but the ideology. So does Tim Kennedy say good things? Yes. Does he say bad things? Yes. Is it honorable he served his country? Absolutely. Is it amazing that he made it to UFC fighter level? Yes. I don't follow him personally. I don't like his personality. He kind of gives me a cringe, but that's just my personal position, and your opinion may vary. So anyway, let's get to playing some clips here.
Go to Second Amendment.
Yeah,
right?
God bless it.
God bless it. I believe in the Second Amendment. You're getting some backlash on some of the things you
Dude.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
So do you see, like, a lot of on the conservative side of this, are they pushing towards where everybody should have a right to have a gun, regardless of their
Man, I'm too busy then on me to know.
Yeah. It seems like it's only a few, it's not many.
Man, but they're loud.
Yeah, we are loud. And me as a conservative, I believe in the Second Amendment, and I believe that, yes, everyone should have the right to own firearms. I know a lot of people don't agree with that, and that may be a radical stance from my part, but I believe the Second Amendment means everyone has the right to bear arms. And I will get to that because he kind of elaborates on this, and I'll get to what I exactly mean by that.
I didn't know this. Some conservatives, when they say Second Amendment, that means to them everybody should have a gun. George Floyd, convicted felons, they should have a weapon. The government should not be able to allow to regulate it. I'm totally against that. If you're a convicted felon, you don't need to have a gun.
So first off, whenever you're a convicted felon and you've paid your debt back to society, I believe you've paid your debt back to society, and you should have the ability to defend yourself. If you're such a violent individual, you should remain behind bars. Okay. Speaking of George Floyd owning a gun, George Floyd shouldn't own a gun. Just because he shouldn't own a gun or legally can't own a gun does not mean George Floyd did not own a gun. George Floyd very well could have owned a firearm. I know many felons who carry firearms. I see them on the news all the time, robbing people and such. Criminals do not follow the law. So having gun control laws does not stop criminals from using guns in crimes. Now, you could say this. Let's say there's a violent criminal, right? He gets out of it, he pays his debt back to society. He gets out. And then let's say he gets caught in the commission of a similar crime, then maybe he gets a harsher punishment. But to outlaw a man who has paid his debt back to society, and now he's living at home, because not all felonies are violent crimes, number one. But now he can never protect his family. I've seen many people that have done heinous things in life that has totally turned their life around, people that gave their life to Jesus Christ, and you name it, and they now have never have the ability to protect their family. We also have various other types of gun control that doesn't require a felony, right? The Brady Law and such. We have all these laws that prohibit people that are good people, honest people, and they just want to protect their family. Now, the thing is that going back to criminals have guns. They don't care. Now, in a society that you police yourself, okay, so if everyone has the right to own guns, even the bad people, well, then when you have such constitutional carry, you should be carrying a firearm to defend yourself. That negates pretty much the whole argument, because in that society, you police your own. You're not having to call the police to come save you. You save yourself.
Really likes the very last shall not be infringed, but
Right.
they ignore the well-regulated portion of this.
Right.
And that's just not fair. We got to take the whole entire thing.
Now, a lot of people's conflicted on that. We're regulated. Some people say it's the government regulating it, and some people think it's the people regulating it.
Well, I don't want the government to regulate anything.
Mhm.
There are some good gun laws on the books, and any form of regulation or laws, in my mind, is gun control. And there are good forms of gun laws.
So there's good forms of gun control is what he's saying. Now, because gun laws are gun control. The problem is with a tyrannical government or any type of authority you give someone over other people, they will abuse power. If we lived in a perfect world where people elected in positions would constantly try to do their job correctly, make sure that the rights of Americans from our forefathers were protected, then that would be great. However, we live in a society that continuously makes new laws after law after law after law, right? You give them an inch, they take it a mile. We've seen that. We've seen that time and time again. There was an assault weapons ban, okay? You couldn't even have a flashlight on a weapon. How many flashlights are being used in crimes? But they're willing to take any course to get rid of the complete eradication of firearm ownership.
I want the government to regulate anything.
Mhm.
There are some good gun laws on the books.
So he talks about regulating anything. Well-regulated militia, meaning that the militia's form and the whole meaning behind the Second Amendment is to oppose a tyrannical government. Well, what's happening whenever inch by inch chipping away at your ability to defend yourself from your tyrannical government? You've heard Joe Biden say you need an F-16. I would say we're already behind the curb, because one could argue we're already within a tyrannical government now.
Laws, a form of gun control. Yes. Are there good gun laws? Well, if felons shouldn't have guns, or if you are
A rapist?
a drug addict that is raping
Pedophile? Dementia?
they should not exist.
Yeah.
Any of those things, those are existing laws that are supposed to prevent somebody.
As far as the government regulating people like that, I don't know how you go about doing it.
So he just admitted himself that the gun laws don't stop anything. Why would you want to enforce more or create more gun laws, more gun control, whenever it does not stop criminals anyway? Look at Mexico as an example. You can't own guns there. Who runs the country there? Cartels. Why? Because they have guns and no one else does. So that's exactly what happens in many places, because criminals will always get firearms. Now, he was on the Lance Armstrong podcast 5 years ago. Now, this is where he got his anti-gun hate from. What I found totally crazy is that when he went on Lance Armstrong and basically made an anti-gun stance, his following grew. They say any bad press is even good press, right? And it really worked for him because he got a substantial following beyond this, because everybody's saying, man, Tim Kennedy is anti-gun. This is where he first bent the knee on gun control, when he was faced by a leftist celebrity. Okay, so here we go. If you've never seen this or forgot it.
And then we think about what the solution is. That's what I think about. When was the last time
you said gun control?
Yeah, I believe gun control is a massive solution.
Good.
I do not think that.
I didn't expect you to say that.
I don't think a 19-year-old kid should have access to an AR-15. I don't think, he should be able to buy a pistol. Fortunately, he can't. But if you can't buy a pistol, how can you buy a semi-automatic AR? Mm-hmm. That doesn't make sense to me.
Repeat that.
You can't. But if you can't buy a pistol, how can you buy a semi-automatic AR-15? I don't think, he should be able to. A 19-year-old kid should have access to an AR-15. I don't think, he should be able to buy a pistol. Fortunately, he can't. But if you can't buy a pistol, how can you buy a semi-automatic AR? Mm-hmm. That doesn't.
So should we stop 18 and 19-year-olds from serving in our military? Because let's say a 19-year-old Marine squad leader can have one. He can have an M4, which is equivalent to AR-15, or actually not equivalent, because it has a more rapid rate of fire. But he could also have some hand grenades. He could even have maybe an anti-tank rocket launcher. But we trust a 18 or 19-year-old whenever it's suitable for us to go fight for America's problems. But they don't want you to be able to defend yourself against your own problems, right? So imagine this. You look at wars in general, and a lot of times America puts its nose in places it shouldn't be. They go send Americans over to fight for them. What if you took that down to the most basic level, where you had a problem with someone somewhere and you went to go fight them, have a duel, you'd be put in prison. So some people would argue, but the Marine has training. That's always the argument. Well, he has training. Well, the Second Amendment doesn't say anything about training. Not that I'm saying training's wrong. You should train. You should be trained. You should know how to operate a firearm just for your own benefit whenever you have to fight for your life one day. However, will training stop someone who wants to do harm to others? It won't. It's just another straw man argument to try and pass stricter gun laws. Chris Kyle, the American sniper, was killed by a Marine. Okay. So he was obviously trained how to use a firearm, and he used it against Chris Kyle. But that's just many examples. There's many people that's been trained with firearms that go out and do horrible things. Okay. And the thing is, he bent the knee to Lance Armstrong because Lance Armstrong is a celebrity. And I mentioned before that I have a friend of mine who is a very well-known, he actually has a new movie just seen coming out today. It's debuted today. He's going to be in. But very famous guy. You know who he is. But I don't name drop because I don't really care to do that. But he's very anti-gun. He and I have had debates for hours, many a times. And I will never back down on what I believe. He thinks I'm absolutely crazy when I say a convicted felon should be able to defend himself, right? Because in a real world where everyone has a firearm, there's not going to be a problem, because those people that are equipped and trained will not let bad people. Because what stops bad people with guns? Good people with guns. Anyway, I wanted to share this because I see so many people that are pro Tim Kennedy, this and that, and you can be whatever you want to do. However, you need to know where he stands on gun control. He believes that some people shouldn't own firearms. He believes that some gun laws are good gun laws. I believe personally, no gun law is a good gun law. Anyhow, guys, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you comment, share the video, and as always, take care and stay frosty, stay strapped, and always stay dangerous.